guys, hi, how's it going? How you doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today I am doing my palette roulette video. This is a review video in which I take a palette that is in my collection that might also be in your collection, and I utilize it for a week and I come back to you. I talk about my experiences with said palette. I show you some pictures of the looks I was able to create with the palette, and then I swatch it, and then we pick another palette. And today we are actually going over kind of a newish palette on the market. This is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette, and I'm really excited to talk about it with you. This is also a palette that I have used over the last 2 weeks. I didn't bring you a palette roulette video last week because this is the first time I'm actually filming in like 3 weeks because I went to Texas for work the last week of April, and then I was in Portland for work the first week of May. So I didn't get this filmed in my one day that I had at home not working, so I am filming it today so that you get it this week. And I apologize for the delay, but you did have some really great videos go up last week instead. So for those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Donna. I am a lover of all things high-end colorful beauty and self-care. I also work in the beauty industry as a district leader for Ulta, so I get a lot of education in my position, and I like to bring you that education through things like reviews on my channel and things like project panning and shop my stashing and all the regulatory stuff that, you know, the beauty industry or the beauty YouTubers do out here. But I also just kind of like to talk about makeup. So you're going to hear a lot of just kind of general makeup chit chat on my channel. If you're here, I'm assuming that you kind of like that stuff too. So I hope that you will find that this channel brings solace to your soul the way it brings solace to my soul, and that you want to subscribe before you go. With that said, let's roll into the palette roulette palette review on the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. So today we are reviewing the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette, and I did pick it up during the Sephora spring sale event where, you know, I as a Rouge member of Sephora got 20% off my purchases. For whatever reason, this palette was calling my name, and it was calling my name pretty surprisingly, actually. I didn't anticipate that, but it is a palette that I ended up picking up. The palette came to me broken. The clasp on it is broken, but nothing else inside of it was broken. So I just didn't think that it was important to call Sephora and be like, hey, yo, I got sent a broken palette and have to ship it back and have to get it back. I did get word in the comment section of, like, I think the video where I unboxed it saying that Sephora doesn't make you send it back, but I don't much care. I mean, the clasp was broken, that is it. And sometimes it does, the little point there does hit just right in here, and it does clasp shut. And this is what the palette looks like. It is a beautiful, like, rose quartz looking, you know, component. It is white, kind of like frosted, I guess, plastic. And then this beautiful pink over the top. It is a little bit tactile. It doesn't, like, it's not raised though. And then the back of it does look like this. Again, it's got, you know, the frosted, like, white component. It does have a bunch of information about the palette on there. And then it also has, like, how to, like, reach out to Huda if you're on any of their socials. And then the shelf life of the palette, which is 24 months, which is odd to me because it does have that, like, jelly shadow in here, which is very strange. This does have a 4.8 star rating on Huda Beauty with 241 reviews that make up that 4.8 stars. And then it has a 4.4 star rating on Sephora with 170 reviews. I would say it's probably somewhere in that 4.4, 4.5 for me. I am really actually surprised that this palette was on my radar because typically her bigger palettes are not. I really do like her Obsession palettes a lot, But I also feel some sort of way about Huda's formula. Honestly, it's very inconsistent. I do like that she tries to, or that team tries to, like, come up with a bunch of different textures and different things to do with the shadows. But I think that this jelly thing that they're doing lately in the last several bigger palettes is just kind of a little bit strange to me. This is a $67 palette. It does have 0.59 ounces of product in it, or 0.032 ounces per pan. So just to put that into perspective for you, that is about 0.01 ounces smaller than the pans in Natasha Denona's $65 palettes, where you get 15 shadows versus the 18 that is in here. And it is $2 more, 3 more shadows. I don't necessarily think that that is good, bad, nor indifferent, but I do think that these shadows are not nearly the quality that you're going to get in a Natasha Denona $65 midi size palette. So I would definitely pick a midi size palette over this one if I had to make a choice. This is a crystal inspired palette and color story, and it's created to help you glow your own way, so says the website. I don't know what that means specifically, but it does have 18 shades. The inside of the palette does have a fairly nice mirror here. It is a nice large mirror, and I haven't taken the plastic off that mirror yet. And then this is what the color story looks like for this palette. I don't think that this is a horrible color story. Honestly, I actually quite love this color story, and that's probably what spoke to me. My favorite Huda palette is the New Nudes palette, and this reminds me a lot of the New Nudes palette, to be honest. 18 shades of effortlessly blendable and layerable shadows with earthy hues, rosy tints, and pearly metallics. The claim is that these are true to color on all skin tones. Pause. I will get there. There are multiple formulas in here. There are 8 mattes, 3 high shine metallics, 3 soft shine metallics, 3 marble cream shimmers, and 1 crush stone gloss, which is this one here. And then this is cruelty-free, fragrance-free, and it has 100% recyclable carton, which I don't understand because it has a mirror. So I'm not sure. I mean, it doesn't have a magnet, but are mirrors recyclable? I guess I don't really think of mirrors as recyclable, and I don't know why. The website does claim that the carton is 100% recyclable. So does that mean this, or does that mean the carton that it comes in? I'm just not sure. So the mattes in this palette were pretty thin, a lot powdery in the pan. They did fall out a little bit on my face, not a whole lot, to be honest. I was really actually kind of surprised at how much powder was in the pan, but how little was on my face at the end of the day. Not at the end of the day, at the end of me putting on my eye look. I know that in today's eye look, none of these shadows really fell out on my face, so I was really quite pleased with that. There's quite a bit of kick up in the pan though. The shimmers were quite a bit more dense than the mattes. All of them, including the cream, including of course the gloss, and including just the regular metallics that are in here. When you have like a denser metallic and a thinner matte, it's really hard to marry the two. So I don't know if you can see, but like in this eye look specifically, where the shimmer and the matte come together, there's a really hard line. So it's very hard to, like I said, marry a dense shimmer and a thin matte together. It's just, it's quite difficult actually, because the shimmer is more dense. It will just create that line, and you actually have to go in, like I went in with my finger and kind of scraped around that area just to get kind of the layover of the matte onto the shimmer to look more blended, more natural. And that's the one thing that I would say about this is if you're looking for stark lines, I really do think that you can manage to make that happen if you're mixing the shimmers and the mattes on your eye look. You can definitely, but if you're looking for a really easy blend, that's just not going to happen. In addition to that, I felt like the mattes kind of blended away. I had to go in multiple times to put that shade back into an eye look, because as I would blend that shade or another shade over the top of it, it would just kind of go away. The voiding happened a lot in this outer corner throughout the day. I would say I got a good 4 hours out of the wear of the shadows in this palette, the mattes specifically, on the outer corner of my eye look before I saw significant fading. Like 4 hours, 5 hours into my day, this whole portion of my eye look would be gone if it was just mattes. So I got to the point where I was putting the shimmer all the way across my eye so that at least at the end of the day, I would still have something on the outer portion of my eye look because mattes just weren't doing it for me. This like shading up towards the top didn't tend to stay any better than that on my lid. I think that they want to be amazing. They just aren't. I also think that many of the shades in here, even though you have a good bit of like browns and deepening shades in here, there was a lot of lack of depth because they all came out really very rosy or plummy instead of brown when I really just wanted a brown. That was fine. I just took like a brown eyeliner and kind of deepened up a look. That would also ensure that my outer V depth would stay there. This definitely worked best over primer. A prime dye was the only way that you were going to get any kind of longevity out of this palette. But in addition to that, if you wanted the shimmers to stay on your eye look, the only way that you could do that was with either a tacky base or this gloss. When I looked at the swatches of all the shades that were on the website and on Sephora, which is immediately what drew me to this palette, this gloss actually had a shade that it performed. And while it looks like it's got a little bit of a shade to it, when you put it on, it's just a clear Vaseline gloss. Like, it makes a wonderful base, but it doesn't bring any color to your eye look. I would say that that gloss worked best with your finger, not with a brush. And I would say that that is a very similar story for all of the shimmers in this palette as well. I think that they worked much better with your finger than with a brush. But also, like, some of these chunkier ones are more of a topper than they are actually a shimmer. So this one is in my eye look today, and it performs like a shimmer with some base, right? With some girth to it. This one is a shimmer that provides, you know, some base to it. This one also is a shimmer that provides some base to it, but a lot of these other ones really provided no girthiness to them to speak of. Sure, a little bit, but not a lot of it. You're gonna get a bunch of like wedding type looks from this, which is also something that reminds me a lot of the New Nudes palette. That's like the quintessential wedding makeup palette. This one I feel like is just a another 18 shades of the same story, to be honest. That gloss, honestly, is ridiculous to have in the palette, although I think that, like I said, it performs really, really great as a base. These shades that are kind of like swirly in the pan, they do provide a little bit of nuance to this palette because they show up very almost multi-chromal in an eye look because there's multiple different colors that are in this one shade specifically. So I did really like that because you could get a lot of different variations in just that one shadow. I wanted to love this palette, and I'm not saying that I don't like it, but I don't love it. If it came down to this palette or New Nude, or even, like, let's be honest, even any of the other larger, you know, Huda Beauty palettes that I have right here, I wouldn't pick this one first. I don't even think that I like this palette more than I like Mercury Retrograde. And if y'all saw my review of Mercury Retrograde, I'll put it up here. I kind of felt almost the same way. Like, it didn't wow me like it wowed a lot of people, but I mean, it was good. It was a good palette. It was an okay palette, right? It was a palette that I would definitely pull for some of the shades in there. I loved the glitters in that palette. They were so, so pretty. I would say I like that one more than I like this one. And that makes me very sad because this one was one that I like couldn't believe was calling my name, but it was. So let's do some swatches. First we have Quartz. Quartz is a shimmer marble copper creamy color. It's a really beautiful kind of almost rose gold shade. Then we have Aura, which is an earthy brown matte that pulls very plum in an eye look, I have to be honest. Then we have Gratitude, which is a latte brown matte, which pulls very pink in an eye look. Then we have Cosmic Love, which performs very much like a topper. Honestly, I know it looks like it's very like saturated and girthy, but it's really not. And I hope that you'll be able to see that. There's a lot of nuance with this shadow, but there's also a lot of lack of base with this shadow. But it is one of my favorite ones, to be honest. Then we have Empowered, which is a gunmetal metallic. It's kind of like a blurple, honestly, kind of blue, kind of purple. It is a really beautiful shadow. It deepens up really well. It just doesn't have a whole lot of longevity when it comes to sticking around on an eye look. And then we have Joy. Joy brings up the end of that first row. You can see there is, you know, again, it looks really girthy, maybe, but there isn't a whole lot of base to this shadow. It is in my eye look today on top of the jelly one, which I think that with these ones that don't have a whole lot of base to them, the jelly shadow underneath them really makes them pop. Okay, second row, we have Precious, which is a deep cool brown matte and really performs like a lavender, kind of like a grayish in an eye look. Then we have Energized, which is honestly a really, really beautiful, like creamy gold metallic. It is in my eye look today as well. Then we have Lovestone. Lovestone is the one that is the jelly one. I think that you guys can see there just really isn't anything to that shadow. And I remember like watching HUDA do like an eye look with the shadow, and this appeared on her eye like a really beautiful like pinky blue like duochromatic like jelly shadow, and it just isn't that. It's very clear. It's very much like Vaseline. This is considered a white hollow pink hybrid gloss. It does have a little bit of pinky blue to it, but not that you can see once it's on your eye. Then we have this one, which is called Cherished, and it is a cool pink matte. It's the lightest shadow in the palette. Then we have Blissful, which is another one of those that doesn't have a whole lot of base. Looks very girthy in this swatch, but it isn't very girthy and does perform very, very well over the top of the gloss. That is the one thing that I am thankful for the gloss for, because no matter what eye primer I had, every single one of these shadows worked really well over the top of that gloss. The last one in that second row is this one, and it is called Happiness. And it is categorized as a bright pink. This is by no means a bright pink. This is a really beautiful dusty pink. It is in my eye look today. I do think it is a beautiful shade. It was one of my favorites in the palette, but it's definitely not a bright pink. Took my watch off so I could swatch the last 6 and have them all in the same hand. I've been really liking doing that lately. This one we have here is this one. It is called Mantra. Mantra is a carbon like gray matte. It performs as the brownest in the palette. This one though was the matte that I had the most trouble sticking around on an eye look. Then we have this one here. That one is called Serenity, and it is a soft pink matte. It leans a little bit lavender. And then we have this one, which is called Abundance. And that one is a really beautiful, like purple-ish gray metallic. It is so, so pretty. Then we have Moon Magic. Again, another one that has like a real lack of base to it. You can see it, right? And I can see it from afar, from a side glance. It's very like pinky purple. It's got a lot of nuance to it. Straight on, it doesn't have any kind of base to it. Then we have Radiate, which is a matte, and it is a taupe. And the last one is this one, and it is called Self Love. And it is a really beautiful white pink matte shimmer. It's one of the creamy marbled shimmers. It is super, super beautiful. There are all the shades together in this palette. I'm hoping that you guys can see them. I am the world's worst swatcher, but I am going to also put in the swatches from the website, because while I understand that they are professional swatchers, the coloring of those swatches looks absolutely nothing like the coloring of my swatches. And these are, I mean, you guys saw me do them. These are not like fake swatches. These are true to T swatches. So with that said, earlier in this video, I did say that the claim was that these are true to color on all skin tones. I would love to know what they mean by true to color, because I am not showing the same colors on my skin tone as what they are showing as colors in the swatches on 3 different skin tones on their website. And I would hesitate to believe that these colors show up on every single skin tone. They're just not great. They're just not great, you guys. My hair is wacko today. It's clearly time to wash it. So with that said, like, this isn't a palette that, like I said, I hate, but it also isn't a palette that I see myself pulling for in abundance. It's an interesting palette. I do like some of the topper shadows, but if you are unwilling to use this glossy shadow underneath those topper shadows, and or if you are interested in this glossy shadow, I'm blinding you guys. If you are interested in this glossy shadow, thinking that it is going to give you this beautiful like pink to blue look that Huda's got in her rendition of an eye look from this palette, you're not gonna get that. I think that you saw that when I swatched it, it just doesn't have any payoff. There's zero payoff to it. And the payoff that you do get doesn't last for very long with any of the shadows in this palette. So with that said, I do like it. But I do think that it was $67 that I could have spent on something else. What, is it worth it in my collection? No, I don't think it's worth it in my collection. I know that there are other palettes that I will pull for first. I do like it. I'm just not in love with it, and that's okay. That's totally okay. When you have a palette collection the size of mine, you're going to have those. You're going to have those. So I'm going to go pull another palette. I will be right back. Okay, I'm pulling this one in because I think it's about damn time that I use this palette. This is the Natasha Denona Green Brown. It is a 28 pan eyeshadow palette. It is one of her eyeshadow palettes that's like $238. I did get it on a sale. I got it with the purple blue. I got both of them for about $300, which I thought was a solid plan in my opinion, because both of them should have been roughly right around $500 when you think about it, when you buy them together. So I got a steal. I'm really happy with the steal that I got, but I haven't used this. I haven't used it at all. So I'm excited to use it over the next week and like really get some idea of what I think of these. And this is about as natural as I want to get for color stories. The weirdest thing about this palette is that this palette's little, thing that tells you what the shades are came separate. It's not like attached. And most of my Natasha Denona palettes, like with this foamy, palette structure, these guys are attached. So I thought that was very strange, but I'm excited to use it. I hope that you guys are excited to come back and hear my thoughts and findings on this palette next week when I do this on Wednesday every single week, except for last week, of course. Sorry about that, but I do hope that you guys are going to want to see it. I am interested to hear your thoughts on the Huda Beauty rose quartz palette. Do you have the palette? Do you want the palette? What are your thoughts on what I have to say about the palette? Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that today is treating you kindly. I hope that you and yours are well, that you guys had an amazing Mother's Day, which is actually today as I'm filming. If you're a mother out there of kiddos, of doggos, of cats, of whatever, if you're a single father, whatever it is that is your story, I hope that you had a wonderful Mother's Day. And with that said, thank you guys so much again for coming. Thanks for watching me. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I hope that you and yours are well, that you're safe, that you're healthy, that you're doing great, that you're getting along as great as best you can in this crazy world that we're living in right now, that you are all loving each other, but loving each other from afar. And until next time, bye friends.